The morning sun cast long shadows across the wheat fields of New Haven as Captain Alina Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the colony's Central Command facility. The golden crops swayed gently in the breeze, and children could be seen playing in the distant settlements. It was a picture of peace that had taken humanity 3 generations to build on this world. Located nearly 40 light-years from Earth, Elena's peaceful morning was shattered when Lieutenant Torres burst through the door, his face pale with urgency. "Captain, we have incoming vessels. Multiple contacts, unknown configuration, dropping out of hyperspace at the system's edge." Elena's training kicked in immediately. She had served in the Colonial Defense Force for 15 years, and though New Haven had never faced a serious threat, every human colony maintained readiness protocols. "How many ships, Torres?" 37 confirmed contacts, Captain. "They're massive. Each one appears to be at least 3 times the size of our largest cargo haulers." Torres paused, swallowing hard. "They're not responding to our standard identification requests." Alina moved quickly to the command center, where the colony's defense staff was already assembling. The main display showed the alien fleet arranged in a perfect formation, moving steadily toward New Haven's orbital space. The ships were unlike anything in human design, with flowing curves and organic-looking hulls that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Dr. Sarah Kim, the colony's chief scientist, was already analyzing the sensor data. "Captain, the energy signatures are off the charts. These ships are powered by something far more advanced than our fusion reactors. And the hull materials, they're unlike anything in our databases." Alina studied the display with growing concern. New Haven was primarily an agricultural colony, home to nearly 2 million civilians. Their defenses consisted of a small orbital defense platform and a handful of patrol ships. Against a fleet of this size, they would be helpless in conventional warfare. "Open a channel," Alina ordered. "Let's see if we can establish communication." The view screen flickered to life, revealing a being that was clearly not human. The alien commander stood nearly 8 feet tall, with scaled skin that shifted between deep purple and black. Multiple eyes dotted its elongated skull, and when it spoke, its voice carried an unmistakable tone of superiority. "I am High Commander Zethkar of the Catherian Empire. You will identify your species and submit to our authority immediately." Alina stepped forward, maintaining her composure despite the alien's intimidating presence. "I am Captain Alina Rodriguez of the human colony New Haven. We are a peaceful settlement under the protection of the Terran Federation. State your intentions in our system." Zethkar's multiple eyes blinked in what might have been amusement. "Humans, we have heard whispers of your kind, a young species, barely capable of interstellar travel. You inhabit this world by our sufferance, and that sufferance has ended." "You're making a mistake," Alina replied firmly. "This system is under human protection. I strongly advise you to leave immediately." The alien commander's laugh was a harsh, grating sound. "Protection from what? We have scanned your pathetic defenses. 1 orbital platform and a few patrol craft. Your entire colony could be reduced to ash in minutes." Alina felt her heart racing, but she kept her voice steady. "This is your first and only warning. Leave this system now or face the consequences." Zethkar's expression shifted to one of genuine incredulity. "You dare threaten us? The Catherian Empire has conquered 700 worlds. We have turned entire star systems into glass monuments to our power. And you, with your primitive weapons and farming equipment, think to intimidate us." Behind Alina, Dr. Kim was working frantically at her console, sending encoded messages through quantum communication arrays that the aliens couldn't detect. Alina needed to buy time, knowing that help was already on its way, though it would take hours to arrive. "I'm not threatening you," Alina said calmly. "I'm trying to save your lives. Humans don't make idle warnings. When we tell you to leave, it's because we're giving you a chance to avoid unnecessary bloodshed." Zethkar's scaled features contorted with rage. "Bloodshed? The only blood that will be spilled is yours, human. We claim this world for the Empire. You have 1 hour to evacuate your leadership to our vessels for processing. All others will be relocated to designated work zones." The transmission cut abruptly, leaving the command center in tense silence. Alina turned to her staff, her mind already racing through contingency plans that had been prepared for exactly this scenario. "Torres, initiate Protocol 7. Kim, what's our status on the quantum array?" Dr. Kim looked up from her console with a grim smile. "Message sent, Captain. Admiral Chen's fleet was conducting exercises in the Proxima sector. They're en route, but it'll be 6 hours before they arrive." Alina nodded. "Then we hold for 6 hours. Activate the colonist emergency shelters and begin civilian evacuation to the underground facilities. Make it look like we're panicking and running scared." As the evacuation began, Alina walked to the window overlooking the colony. To any external observer, it would appear that New Haven was in complete chaos. Families were running to emergency shelters, vehicles were racing through. The streets and the orbital platform was powering down its weapons systems, as if in preparation for surrender. But Alina knew better. New Haven wasn't just an agricultural colony. It was also home to one of humanity's most advanced research facilities, hidden deep beneath the wheat fields. For the past decade, human scientists had been developing new defensive technologies. Using New Haven as a testing ground, the aliens had no idea what they were walking into. 3 hours after the initial contact, Zethkar's fleet moved into high orbit around New Haven. The alien commander opened communications again, his tone now filled with smug satisfaction. "Humans, your time has expired. We see your pathetic attempts at evacuation. Surrender now, and we will allow your leaders to live as servants." Alina appeared on the view screen, standing in what appeared to be a hastily abandoned command center. Behind her, papers were scattered, and several consoles were sparking as if damaged. "Commander Zethkar, please. We're just farmers and scientists. We don't want to fight." "Of course you don't," Zethkar replied with amusement. "You lack the courage for war. Very well, human. We will begin landing operations immediately. Resistance is futile." The first wave of Catharian landing craft descended toward New Haven's surface like deadly meteors. Each craft carried 50 heavily armed soldiers, their weapons designed to subdue rather than kill. After all, live slaves were more valuable than corpses. Alina watched the landing craft approach on her tactical display, counting down the seconds. When the first craft touched down in the wheat fields outside the main settlement, she allowed herself a small smile. "Now," she whispered. The wheat fields erupted in brilliant flashes of light as hidden plasma cannons rose from concealed positions. The defensive grid that the aliens had dismissed as primitive revealed itself to be one of the most sophisticated weapons systems ever developed by human military engineers. Zethkar watched in horror as his landing craft was systematically destroyed by weapons that shouldn't exist. The energy signatures were impossible. How could a farming colony possess such advanced technology? "Impossible," he hissed. his multiple eyes darting across the tactical displays. These readings are wrong. Humans are primitive. They barely have spaceflight. His tactical officer, a younger Catherian named Veltar, looked up from his console with growing alarm. "High Commander, we're detecting massive energy buildups across the planet's surface. And there's something else, sir. Long-range sensors are picking up hyperspace disturbances at the edge of the system." Elena's voice crackled across the communication channel, no longer pleading, but cold and professional. "Commander Zethkar, this is your final warning. You have 30 seconds to begin withdrawal from this system. After that, we will consider your fleet a hostile force and respond accordingly." Zethkar's rage boiled over. "You dare, you insects. Dare to threaten the Empire. All ships target the planet's surface, reduce their cities to rubble." But as the Catherian fleet powered their weapons, something extraordinary happened. The space around New Haven began to shimmer, and massive defensive satellites materialized as their cloaking systems deactivated. The aliens had been surrounded without even knowing it. Elena's voice filled the comm channel one last time. "You were warned, Commander. You chose not to listen. Now you'll face the consequences of that choice." The battle for New Haven was about to begin, and the Catherian Empire was about to learn why humanity's warnings should never be ignored. The consequences, the moment Elena gave the order, New Haven's hidden defenses came alive with devastating efficiency. The cloaked defensive satellites that had been silently orbiting the planet for months suddenly revealed themselves, their weapons, systems charging with an energy signature that made the Catherian ship's scanners scream warnings. High Commander Zethkar stared in disbelief as his tactical display lit up with threats that hadn't existed moments before. What is this sorcery? How did they hide an entire defensive grid? Veltar, his young tactical officer, worked frantically at his console. "Commander, the energy readings are unprecedented. These aren't primitive weapons. The technology appears to be more advanced than our own." The first salvo from the human defensive grid struck the Catherian fleet like the hammer of an angry god. Brilliant beams of coherent energy lanced through space, striking the alien ships with pinpoint accuracy. The Empire's shields, which had never failed against any known weapon, flickered and died under the assault. "Impossible," Seth breathed as 3 of his heavy cruisers simply ceased to exist, vaporized by weapons that defied his understanding of physics. How can primitives possess such power? On the planet's surface, Dr. Sarah Kim watched the battle from the hidden command center deep beneath the wheat fields. "Captain Rodriguez, all defensive systems are operating at optimal efficiency. The quantum resonance cannons are performing exactly as designed." Elena nodded grimly. "How long until Admiral Chun's fleet arrives?" 2 hours, 37 minutes, Kim replied. "But at this rate, we might not need them." The truth was that New Haven had been humanity's most classified secret for the past decade, while the galaxy saw it as a simple agricultural colony. It was actually the testing ground for humanity's most advanced military research. The wheat fields, above concealed laboratories where human scientists had been developing weapons, technology that surpassed anything known to galactic civilization. The Catherian Empire had made the fatal mistake of attacking humanity's most heavily defended world while believing it to be defenseless. Zethkar's flagship shuddered as another human weapon struck its hull. "All ships, concentrate fire on the planet's surface. If we cannot take it, we will destroy it." But as the Catherian fleet opened fire, they discovered another unpleasant surprise. The planet's surface was protected by energy shields that appeared to be generated from the planetary core itself. Their weapons, which had reduced countless worlds to ash, barely scratched the barrier. Commander Veltar called out, his voice cracking with fear. Long-range sensors are detecting incoming ships. Multiple contacts, approaching at maximum hyperspace velocity. Zethkar's blood ran cold. How many? 43 confirmed contacts, sir. They'll be here in less than 3 hours. Elena's voice crackled across the channel again. Commander. Zethkar, you still have time to withdraw. This doesn't have to end in the complete destruction of your fleet. Never, Zethkar roared. The Empire does not retreat from primitives. But even as he spoke, his fleet was being dismantled. The human defensive grid was targeting his ships with surgical precision, eliminating weapons, systems, engines, and life support with an efficiency that spoke of advanced artificial intelligence guidance. Dr. Kim turned to Alina with a puzzled expression. Captain, I'm reading something strange. The alien ships are using quantum communication arrays to send distress signals. They're calling for reinforcements. Alina smiled grimly. Let them. The more Empire ships that come here, the more we'll learn what happens when you ignore human warnings. As if summoned by her words, space around New Haven began to shimmer with incoming hyperspace jumps. But instead of more Catherian vessels, the new arrivals bore the distinctive hull markings of the Terran Federation Navy. Admiral Marcus Chen's voice filled the channel. Calm and professional. This is Admiral Chen of the Terran Federation. Fifth Fleet. All alien vessels are ordered to stand down immediately and prepare to be boarded. Alina felt a surge of relief. The Fifth Fleet was humanity's most powerful mobile force, consisting of ships that incorporated all the latest advances in human military technology. Each vessel was crewed by volunteers who had sworn to protect human colonies at any cost. Stared at the tactical display in growing horror. The human fleet that had just arrived wasn't just larger than his own. It was technologically superior in every measurable way. The energy signatures coming from their weapons made his own fleet look like museum pieces. This is impossible, he whispered. Intelligence reports said humans were barely capable of interstellar travel. They said your species was weak, divided, primitive. Elena's image appeared on his view screen, her expression cold and unforgiving. Your intelligence was wrong, Commander. Humanity learned long ago that the galaxy is a dangerous place. We prepare for threats like yours. Admiral Chen's flagship, the UFS Indomitable, moved into position above the battered Catherian fleet. Alien Commander, you are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to the conventions of war. Zethkar looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. Fear was evident in their multiple eyes, fear of a species they had dismissed as harmless farmers and scientists. Half his fleet was gone, destroyed by weapons that shouldn't exist. The remainder was crippled, their shields down, their weapons offline. We surrender, he said quietly, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. Elena's voice carried across the channel one final time. Commander Zethkar, you were warned. Twice. You chose to ignore those warnings. Now your empire will learn the price of underestimating humanity. The aftermath of the battle was swift and decisive. The surviving Catherian ships were escorted to a holding facility in the outer system, where their crews would be held until diplomatic arrangements could be made. The damaged vessels would be studied by human scientists, their technology reverse-engineered and integrated into humanity's defensive systems. But perhaps more importantly, The story of what happened at New Haven would spread throughout the galaxy. The Catherian Empire's survivors would return to their home worlds with tales of human power that defied all expectations. Word would spread to other species, other potential threats, that humanity was not the weak, primitive species it appeared to be. Dr. Kim stood beside Alina as they watched the alien ships being escorted away. "Do you think they'll try again?" Alina shook her head. "Not them, but others might. The galaxy is full of species who think they can take what belongs to humanity by force." She turned to look out at the wheat fields, where the hidden weapons had already retracted back into their concealed positions. To casual observation, New Haven looked like nothing more than a peaceful farming colony again. "That's why we maintain places like this," Alina continued. "Not because we want war, but because we want peace. And sometimes the only way to ensure peace is to be ready for war." Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the comm system. "All stations, this is Admiral Chen. The threat has been neutralized. Begin standard post-combat protocols." As the human fleet began its victory procedures, Alina allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The Catherian Empire had learned an important lesson today. When humanity gives a warning, it's not a sign of weakness or uncertainty. It's an act of mercy, a final chance to avoid the consequences of poor decisions. The galaxy would remember what happened at New Haven, and perhaps the next time humanity issued a warning, it would be heeded. In the depths of space, automated probes launched by the Catherian fleet before their defeat carried messages back to the Empire's core worlds. The messages were simple but clear. Humanity was not what it seemed. The species that appeared to be primitive farmers and scientists possessed weapons that could destroy entire fleets and defenses that could protect entire worlds. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its weapons or its technology. It was its ability to appear weak while being strong, to offer mercy while being prepared for war, and to give warnings that should never be ignored. The wheat fields of New Haven swayed gently in the breeze, golden and peaceful under the setting sun, but beneath them, in hidden laboratories and concealed weapon systems, humanity's guardians continued their eternal vigil, ready to defend their people against any threat that might come from the stars. The Empire had been warned. They had refused to listen. Now they would face the consequences, and the galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.